2 seasons, 2 divisional appearances for CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans. Houston had the quick turnaround and had 5 different coaches over 4 years. DeMeco was the right guy, and Stroud was the right quarterback. There were some pretty big expectations for the Texans after Stroud's rookie season. Houston didn't really improve much, but won the AFC South again and got another postseason win, beating the Chargers 32-12. DeMeco and Stroud have really turned everything around fast, and while Houston maybe isn't a serious contender like the Chiefs or Bills, the Texans are good, and Stroud is good, even if he did have a slight sophomore slump. But first, I'd like to thank DraftKings for sponsoring the video. Football fans, there are only a few short weeks left in the season, and we have some awesome wild card matchups coming up soon. Get in on the action right now at DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings is offering all new customers $200 in bonus bets when you wager just $5. Don't let the offer slip away. Download the DraftKings app now and use code JDPROD. Stay in on the action with those $200 in bonus bets and use them on DraftKings same game parlays for a chance at an even bigger payout. You can combine multiple bets from the same game. Do you love the thrill of betting? DraftKings has the opportunity to bet live on games in progress to make watching that game even more exciting. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still get in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy, so download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code JDPROD and get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you wager just $5. That's promo code JDPROD only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. And now, back to the video. Before DeMeco Ryans was hired and CJ Stroud drafted, the Texans had a really rough stretch. Remember, Bill O'Brien was the head coach a long time and had some success. Houston got to the postseason 4 times and won in the wild card twice. The Texans eventually fell apart and made an interesting decision to trade DeAndre Hopkins for essentially pennies. Deshaun Watson ended up being a complete cancer, and O'Brien got fired during a terrible 4-12 season. He got the axe after an 0-4 start, and Romeo Crennel was the interim. That was only the beginning of a revolving door at head coach. David Culley was hired to be head coach in 2021 as rookie Davis Mills became the starting quarterback. Houston stunk and went 4-13. Then Culley was fired and Lovie Smith took over. He had a 3-13-1 season and cost the Texans the #1 pick by beating the Colts in week 18. It wasn't ideal and was a huge mistake at the time, but it all worked out. The Panthers landed the top pick and selected Bryce Young. The Texans are more than happy to have CJ Stroud instead. There were a lot of issues in Houston. DeMeco Ryans was hired, and then Stroud was drafted. Then seemingly the problems went away. The wonders a good coach and quarterback can do. CJ Stroud entered the league and immediately was a top quarterback. He showed veteran poise and decision-making. He could make any throw, and at times it was very easy to forget that he was only a rookie. Stroud was that good. He broke some NFL records, including being the youngest starting quarterback to ever win a playoff game. Stroud went 9-6 in starts and threw for 4,100 yards, 23 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions. Once he got a grasp of the pro level, he was rolling. Houston went 0-2 to start the season, and then he never looked back. He broke the NFL record held by Dak Prescott for the most pass attempts without an interception to begin a career. He did miss 2 games after he suffered a concussion, but returned to play well. He was outstanding against the Browns in the wild card, passing for 274 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's rare, if ever, to see a rookie enter the league and play so well, especially when the lights are so bright. Stroud was just different. Houston did lose to the Rams the following week, a game I was actually at. It was freezing and miserable, but it was really cool to see CJ Stroud and Lamar Jackson play in the postseason. Baltimore did shut down Stroud pretty well, but he was easily the offensive rookie of the year, and the sky was the limit. You know, he already looked like a top 10, borderline top 5 at times NFL quarterback. It only set up for higher expectations, but Stroud did have a bit of a sophomore slump. He wasn't bad, but he didn't live up to the same measure. Stroud did regress statistically, passing for 3,700 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. He went 10-7 and started every game, unlike as a rookie. It still wasn't a bad year. More importantly, the Texans won the AFC South again and were able to win when it mattered. again. The Texans hosted the Chargers in the wild card on Saturday, not necessarily an easy matchup. The Chargers had a top defense during the regular season, and Justin Herbert is very good. The Chargers started off pretty well, but struggled to actually get in the end zone. They had to settle for back-to-back field goals in the first quarter by Cameron Dicker, so it was 6-0 Chargers after one, and it was all Texans after that. With 1 minute left in the half, the Texans were still down 6-0, but then Stroud hit Nico Collins for a 13-yard touchdown, and then the Chargers had a quick 3-and-out. The Texans were able to set up Cammy Fairbairn for a 41-yard field goal to go up 10-6 at the break, and Houston slowly put the game out of hand in the third. Fairbairn hit from 37, and Eric Murray had a 38-yard pick six to lead 20-6. After another Fairbairn field goal from 30, the Texans led 23-6, and the Chargers needed a bit of a miracle, and they got a hint of one. Herbert hit Ladd McConkey. Boy, did he have a great day for a 86-yard touchdown. At that moment, it felt like the Chargers had a shot. Hit the extra point, and it's only a 10-point game. Even if the Texans get a field goal, it's still very manageable. Then Dicker was blocked on the PAT, and D'Angelo Ross returned it for 2 points. Just like that, it was a 13-point deficit, and it felt like it killed some of the little remaining momentum left for the Chargers. Joe Mixon eventually put it away for good with a 17-yard touchdown run. 32-12 Texans win. It wasn't surprising, but it was surprising how it happened. Justin Herbert only threw 3 interceptions in the regular season. He got picked off 4 times. Sure, every single one wasn't his fault, but it was still bad. He went 14 of 32 for 242 yards and only threw 1 touchdown. If the Chargers were to lose, that didn't seem like it'd be the reason why. Ladd McConkey was great. He was the entire offense, essentially. He had 9 catches for 197 yards and a touchdown. Just a heck of a postseason debut for the rookie. Then the Chargers just couldn't run the ball well. As for Houston, Joe Mixon was great with 25 carries for 106 yards and a touchdown. Stroud even used his feet more than normal with 42 yards. He wasn't spectacular through the air, but he really didn't need to be. He was 22 of 33 for 282 yards with a touchdown and a pick. Nico Collins was the clear number 1 with 7 catches for 122 yards and a touchdown. The Chargers defense had been really good, so it's surprising the Texans were able to dominate the way they did. I certainly don't think the Texans or Chargers were going to come out of the AFC anyways. I think both are good teams, but the Chiefs and Bills are a tier above. There are things to be happy about for both now. The Texans maybe haven't improved on 2023 yet, but it's clear that Houston wasn't a fluke and can contend at a high level. If certain guys weren't injured, like Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell, the offense would obviously be running better. Bobby Slowick has done a great job as the offensive coordinator. I really thought he'd get a head coaching job last year, but we'll see if he wants to leave now. But business isn't even finished for the Texans. Houston will now have to go on the road and face the Dark Magic Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. Kansas City went 15-2 and were 15-1 before resting starters against the Broncos in Week 18. The Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes haven't necessarily been statistically great, but keep winning. It's hard to see that not happening. The two faced off not long ago in Week 16. It was a good game. Kansas City did find a way to win and won 27-19, and that was in Houston. That's what's next. But a win there would change a lot for Houston. As for the Chargers, it goes on. Jim Harbaugh had a great year 1 with the Chargers. The defense absolutely sucked in 2023, and Harbaugh turned it into a top unit. There is still a bit of a sour taste from the 27-0 blown lead to the Jaguars in 2022. It set up perfectly to be the first postseason win for Herbert, and it wasn't. Brandon Staley was awful, but now it's the Harbaugh show. And if the defense can be good and Harbaugh plays up to his potential, the Chargers should be good in the coming seasons. Justin Herbert is the GOAT in what-if scenarios, and it continues. I'll add one what-if to the pot. What if he didn't throw for 4 picks against the Texans in the wild card? It's absolutely clear the Texans were the better team without a doubt. CJ Stroud is only in his sophomore season, and some of that clutch factor is already there. I'd like to see more from the Texans and Stroud, and I think he's going to bounce back for a good 3rd year, but it's not over. I can't imagine how much confidence and hype Houston would get if it can somehow beat the Chiefs to make the AFC Championship.